No harm, no foul. Hi, my name's Dave, and welcome to my daily journey through the Daily Stoic. 366 meditations on wisdom, perseverance, and the art of living by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hasselman. If you enjoy Stoic content and self-improvement stuff, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Today is April 17th. No harm, no foul. Do away with the option, I am harmed, and the harm is cast away too. Do away with being harmed, and harm disappears. Marcus Aurelius Meditations 4.7. Words can have multiple meanings. One usage can be harsh, and another might be completely innocent. The same word can mean a cruel slur or a pile of sticks. In the same way, something said sarcastically differs dramatically from something that was pointed and mean. The interpretation of a remark or word has immense amount of power. It's the difference between a laugh and hurt feelings. The difference between a fight breaking out and two people connecting. This is why it's so important to control the biases and lenses we bring into our interactions. When do you hear or see something, which interpretation do you jump to? What is your default interpretation of someone else's intentions? If being upset and hurt is something you like to experience less often, make sure your interpretations of others' words make that possible. Choose the right inference from someone's actions or from external events, and it's a lot more likely you'll have the right response. Yeah, I really like today's reading. It really does come down to recognizing and understanding kind of tone and things like that. As a comedian, you do stand-up comedy, and you recognize kind of how you say something really matters. Even as when I do coaching, particularly in the dating and relationship realms or communication, 80 to 90% of all communication is actually not necessarily your words, but actually your tonality, your nonverbals, how you interact with someone can really change how the conversation goes. One of my kind of best examples that I like to use is the word when you're like with a partner or someone at work, and they're like, hey, how are you today? And they're like, I'm fine. And you're like, you recognize that they're not fine. For me, I've learned fine when they say like, oh, I'm fine. Like, it's usually means effed up, insecure, neurotic, emotional. Usually one of those things that they're actually feeling, but they don't want to actually admit to it. And then so I usually halt, especially if it's with a partner. Halt means hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And it's usually one of these things. So, all right, are you hungry? Are you feeling angry about something? You're feeling lonely? Are you tired? And you start answering these kind of questions, you can help kind of change the perception. And this is what I feel like the reading was getting into as well, is recognizing how you choose to respond to someone's sarcasm or words or point. Like, what interpretation are you taking? What is the inference what's the things that aren't being said, and how are you wanting to take that? And how do you wish to receive that information? Do you immediately want to go into like, oh, that asshole, I'm hurt, blah, blah, blah. Or it's like, okay, wow, they're lashing out, so maybe they're in pain. That, this has nothing to do with me, and that this is just emotional pain not being transformed, so it's being transmitted, and it's kind of and they're lashing out. So how can I help them with it, right? This is changing and looking at empathy, recognizing their position of where they're coming from. And this comes a lot through the tone and the body language. Our words will say one thing, but our tone and our body language will say a completely other. And recognizing and knowing how to kind of read that, and read it with gentle empathy, right? Recognizing that we're all human beings, that we all have these moments, and being able to hold the space for the other person instead of immediately jumping to a negative conclusion. Oh, they made you do that. Oh, they're just blah, blah, blah. Like, even my actions there, right? It's this pointing of where, we're pointing and we're blaming. And here's the thing, when you point at someone, right? Especially when you're blaming, right? You're pointing one finger at them, but you got three pointed back at you. So it's really looking at, like, what you can control, because I can't control them, but I can control how I respond, taking in that information, recognize what's my biased lens that I'm looking through this situation, and if I want to have less harm or less kind of being annoyed in the world, how can I interpret it so that I don't actually have to go through that experience, right? It doesn't mean that the situation itself has changed, but the way I feel it and act to it starts to begin to change, because that's the thing I can control. The situation itself doesn't change, the actual facts on the ground, but how I view it does. And this is where it becomes a great mindset growth of like how we view and look at the situation. Are we just looking at it from the hurt child perspective? Are we looking at it from the Stoic perspective, the third perspective, from the other person's perspective? You start to play with all these kind of different kind of points of view, and you can kind of come to a better kind of understanding and less kind of emotionally hurt. At least that's what works for me. And that's something I kind of teach with my clients as well. But that's it. That's all I have for today's video. Don't forget to check out over here more daily Stoic videos and videos from me. If you're not subscribed, hit this subscription. Don't forget the bell for notifications. If you leave a thumbs up on the video, it really, really does help with the algorithm and all that fun stuff. And if you're ever interested in coaching with me, there's a link to my website as well that has a bit more information on that. But with that, I'll see you tomorrow, and I wish you a great, if not better day.